And he swings away, throws it up the middle, base hit. Here comes Lindor around third, and the Mets win it.
That was the New York Mets with a walk-off win in the first game of a doubleheader with the Philadelphia Phillies last night. They dropped the nightcap but remain in control of the National League East. The Mets now with a 5-game lead as we approach the All-Star break. A good return so far on the team's $196 million payroll. But included in that figure is nearly $1.2 million for a player that hasn't played for the team in over 20 years, and one the Mets will continue to pay for another 14 years. The now infamous arrangement involves an athlete, an owner, and the most notorious Ponzi scheme in history. At Citi Field, there is finally something for Mets fans to smile about again. A first-place team with a new owner bankrolling baseball's third highest payroll. But we were there to talk about the salary of a player who hasn't been on the roster in decades.
Bobby Bonilla gets paid over $1 million a year for not playing baseball for the Mets.
It's become more of a joke, than anything else. Bobby Bonilla Day.
That's right, Bobby Bonilla Day, the unofficial holiday every 1st of July that celebrates the Mets' independence from their former slugger.
Bobby Bonilla is about to get $1.2 million, even though he's been retired for about 20 years.
The unbelievable story behind that is a key chapter in Devin Gordon's new book on the Mets, So Many Ways to Lose.
It's sort of a definitional moment of what it is to be a Met fan.
He struck him out! Struck him out! The Mets have won the World Series!
In the mid-1980s, the Mets were on top of the baseball world. Just 5 years later, most of the stars were gone, and the team finished 20 and a half games out of first place.
He was going to be the heir apparent, bring us back to the glory of 1986, win a World Series.
Bobby Bonilla has left the Pittsburgh Pirates after 6 seasons. He signed as a free agent with the New York Mets.
In 1991, the Mets made Bonilla the highest-paid player in baseball history. Here's a CBS News report from the time.
Bobby Bonilla will make $29 million over the next 5 years, a figure that surpasses the gross national product of some third world countries.
The marriage seemed perfect because Bobby Bonilla was from New York, but the real problem was that team stunk. It was a terrible team, and it went disastrously wrong right from the beginning, to the point where the Mets basically ran him out of town.
But the Mets weren't done with Bonilla.
They ran him out of town once, and then they traded for him again.
And ran him out.
And then ran him out again.
Which was when the now infamous deal was cut, deferring payment for a decade on the final $6 million owed to Bonilla, freeing up the cash.
They used the money to sign an ace named Mike Hampton, who pitched spectacularly for the Mets, got them into the Subway Series in 2000. And then Mike Hampton leaves after the season as a free agent, which means the Mets get a compensatory pick in the upcoming draft. And they use that pick on David Wright, the third base cornerstone for the next decade and a half. So it's hard to imagine that deal working out better for the Mets.
Until team owner Fred Wilpon became collateral damage in an historic case of financial fraud.
Investors are still wondering today if anything is left of the billions they invested with Wall Street investor Bernard Madoff.
Madoff cleans out the Wilpons in 2009, but they're still broke in 2011 on July 1st when those checks start kicking in. Bobby Bonilla was the highest paid outfielder on the Mets roster in 2011, making $1.2 million, and he'd been retired for years.
That doesn't sit well with any fan.
Doesn't sit well with the fan base.
If the Mets are in good financial shape, would anybody have ever even sort of scoffed at this at all?
It's a rich guy's pocket change and no one cares.
Over the years, Bonilla has been asked about the arrangements.
A lot's been made of your Met contract.
Okay.
He's been reluctant to talk about it.
Hey, Bobby, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great.
But did respond to this question from TMZ Sports in 2017.
You're going to get paid $1 million plus until 2035. How did your agent negotiate that?
He's a special man, Dennis Gilbert. Help me out with that.
This was kind of what we call non-qualified deferred compensation.
We caught up with Dennis Gilbert. That was when you were playing
That's
baseball.
when I was playing baseball.
A former minor league ball player.
Michael was an insurance client.
Turned insurance agent to the rich and famous, who used the same long-term principles from the insurance industry to become a high-powered sports agent. Barry was one of your clients, right? By his estimate, Gilbert represented a couple hundred Major League ball players at his peak. The diary of Bobby Bonilla Day right there.
Yeah.
When you did this deal for Bobby, what was his reaction at the time?
Bobby listened, asked questions, lots of questions, and said, let's do it.
And I know you still talk with him. What does he think now on July 1st?
Actually, I have a picture of him.
This is on a July 1st, he sent you that shot.
Uh-huh.
With new ownership in place, might the Mets soon smile come July 1st, too?
For Steve Cohen, with all his money, maybe they could just put it all together and just pay him off for once and for all.
I'm focused on this year.
Steve Cohen, the billionaire former hedge fund manager who bought the Mets in October, shared his idea with a fan on Twitter. Let's take a vote. How about we have a Bobby Bonilla Day every year, hand him an oversized check, and drive a lap around the stadium? Could be fun. That's an idea Devin Gordon, a diehard Mets fan, says he's rooting for.
Well, what is that old saying? Comedy equals tragedy plus time, right? It seems like we can embrace this now a little bit more. We can all enjoy the joke.
Can Bobby Bonilla be here on July 1st and you celebrate the day?
I hope so. That's
Maybe
what I'm hoping
last
for.
Check.
Maybe his last check, that would be great. You know, the fact that this farce comes back around and everybody's enjoying it at the end, that's who the Mets are anyway.
So they will celebrate on July 1st, Mets fans will. I want to say we did reach out to Steve Cohen. We reached out to Bobby Bonilla. Both declined our request for interview. But things seem to be thawing a little differently now that Cohen is the one paying the bills.
It's kind of cool that Cohen has embraced it. I mean, what else can you do, honestly?
It did work if you look at the players that got out of this deal, not having to pay that money at the time. And again, now that Cohen has the money.
Well, he earned it, didn't he? I mean, it was part of the deal.
Yes.
It was part of the deal. And it's kind of like when you win the lottery and you choose to get it over 20 years, right? What do they call that?
Deferred payment.
And now Mets fans get DeGrom on the mound this afternoon, right?
That's right.
Going for the best pitching season of all time.